Hi friends! In today's video I'm going to demonstrate a technique that is using our gilded leafing embellishment, gold leaf, and scrap bits of designer series paper, and the result is gorgeous. I know you're going to have a lot of fun with this, so let's start stamping. To start, I have brought over my little container that has my Brilliance Butterfly collection items in here. I've just been having so much fun with it, but I have some scrap pieces of this designer series paper. So I am going to use those so that I don't have to cut into a full sheet. Just use up my scraps and bits and pieces. Now I'm bringing in my paper trimmer, and I want to cut my designer series paper into 1-inch strips. So I think this one already is 1 inch. Yes, so those are already 1 inch. Gonna set those aside and then cut this down to 1 inch. Now this card is also going to be a fun fold that I've used a few times, so this may not be new to you, but I love this card fold and I keep going back to it. So I have my 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, and along the 8.5 side I'm going to cut this down at 2 3/4. And I'm going to do a second one because I know I'm going to be making 2 of these cards. Actually, you're going to get 3 cards out of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to score each one at 5.5. Probably should have done that first, but that's okay. And the last strip actually measures 3 by 11. So I'm going to go ahead and use that too. It's okay if that's a bit wider. So I'm just going to score that at 5.5 as well. Now I have a piece of our adhesive sheets. I'm going to cut this down at 5 1/4. And spin it around and cut it at 2.5. And 2.5. And this little piece I will save because you can use these. Absolutely nothing has to go to waste. And then I have one more card that needs to be 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so now I'm going to peel off this adhesive layer and just apply it to my cardstock. And these adhesive sheets are so sticky. And do the same thing here. So of course these are great when you're using them with our die cuts and other products, but these work perfect for this technique. Okay, so I'm just going to take my bone folder and really press it down. And next I am going to lift off, oops, let's try it again here, a little tab right there. There we go. Just going to peel that right off, and now all that adhesive is applied to this, and there's a little blank spot there. That's okay, it's still got some stickiness in it, and we're gonna have designer series paper go on top of that. There, perfection. So now I'm gonna bring in these pieces of designer series paper. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna line up this corner here to the midpoint center of this cardstock. So I'm just going to go ahead and place it down like so. And then I'm going to bring in another color, and I'm just going to leave a little bit of a gap. And then I'm going to come in with the next color. Let's see. I'm going to pull in some solid colors as well. I'm going to use this one. Okay. And then a little bit of yellow. And of course, this is a very narrow piece of cardstock. Let me move this up so you can actually see what I'm doing. Here we go. But of course, if you were using a wider piece, that would work really well also. So I'm going to use a solid piece here. And let me see, what have I got? Let's do this one again. Go in a different direction. And a little bit of pink. I'm going to pull this in, and I'm literally just going to cover that corner. And then I'm going to pull in the solid here and do the same thing, just fill in that corner. Nope, I'm going to do yellow. Okay, so there's my piece. Now I'm going to spin it around and cut these off. There's my pretty design. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this to the other pieces of cardstock, and I will speed up the video for that. Okay, so for my last piece, you see how I have all these bits and pieces that I trimmed off from the last card? Well, look what I'm going to do, you guys. I am literally just going to put them on willy-nilly. I'm still going to leave a gap, and I'm just going to fill in. Even this tiny little piece would be fun, and I'm not worrying about straight edges. Let's put a little bit of orange on there. I am just going to keep filling in until I have all the pieces on here that I want to fill in with. There's the piece I have. Doesn't that look cool? That actually looks like, you know, just like white grout or something. It's so pretty with just the white background. And again, I could just keep doing that until I use up all those tiny little bits. It's like the never-ending card. So I'm gonna pull this out. Now I'm gonna tell you, as much as I love glitter and metallics, everything, I hesitated getting this because I just thought, oh my gosh, I don't know about that. Well, I got it. I'm loving it. I am having so much fun with this stuff. I'm really, really glad I got it. Look at, we got some big pieces here, and I'm literally just moving them into that adhesive in between the designer series paper, and I'm just rubbing it in. Holy cow, does it ever look good, especially with that butterfly bijou designer series paper. I knew it would, with those pinks and blues and yellows. So I'm just going to keep working it in. Only need a tiny bit, and I'm definitely going to get a container, a big container, to put this gold leafing in. I'm just having the most fun with this stuff. Look at this big piece. Oh my goodness. And just work it in. So pretty. Imagine doing this with Christmas paper, you guys, for Christmas cards. Oh my gosh. I don't know if this is going to be carried over into our new annual catalog or not, but I'm telling you. Well, I don't know if I'm going to need another container. This might last me for life. Probably couldn't hurt to get a spare one just in case, because, you know, be stamping the rest of my life. You don't want to sneeze while you're doing this, for heaven's sakes. That would not be good. That not be good. It would be funny, but it would not be good. Well, wouldn't it be funny for you? Funny for someone else to watch. All right, oh my. That is so, so pretty. And I'm just gonna tap off the excess. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, I am going to move on to this piece and do exactly the same thing. And I will speed up the camera for you. And there's that one done. Isn't that neat? There's a little piece of white right here where I didn't have adhesive stick to that, and that's obviously where I'm going to put my ribbon or my sentiment. Haven't decided yet. So I am going to very carefully put this back into my container and tidy up. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to the third piece without gold leafing. Okay, so here's the last one. And for those of you at home think, oh, that's beautiful, but yeah, the gold leafing, it's not for me. Or if you don't have any and you want to make this until you get some, well, you know what? We are going to bring in our gold embossing powder. And that is going to work as well. Just sprinkle it on and the embossing powder will stick to the adhesive sheet. Yay! Awesome. And again, a couple little spots where I don't have any adhesive. I bet you anything it's stuck to my finger. And that's all right, because I will just, like I said, put a embellishment or butterfly or ribbon or something. So I'm just taking my paintbrush and taking off any excess. I'm going to set this with the heat tool. And look, absolutely gorgeous. So let me show you the difference. Okay, both super, super pretty. And one thing I was thinking about when I was heating this up is to do the edge. So I'm going to bring in my Versamark and just wipe right along the edge and emboss that with gold as well. And I have to tell you, I am loving this with the edge. So much so I want to do it to these pieces. So I'm going to grab my Versamark, do exactly the same thing I did here, but I'm going to use the heat and stick powder so that I can stick that gold foil around the edges. When you're using the heat and stick powder, it's basically like a powder glue, if you will, if you've never used it before. And when you set it with your heat tool, it will melt and become tacky. But you don't want to overheat it or it's not going to work so well. So just lightly heat it up with the heat tool. Okay, I think that's good. Bring back my powder. Okay, and I'm just going to start putting this right around the edges. Oh, yes. Yes! I'm loving the edge. You know how I said earlier it would be really bad if you sneezed in the room with this stuff? Well, having the heat gun on at the same time also has a bad effect. You will end up with this absolutely everywhere. Just gonna pick some up here from the paper. And I'm missing a little bit here and there, so I can go back and add some more Versamark and heat and stick powder. So basically you get the gist on how that works to add an edge And I will finish this one up and the other one and be right back. Okay, so what I have done is I folded my 2 3/4 by 11 cardstock in half and then just simply glued this right on the front. And then I have a piece of Rococo Rose cardstock, and this measures 3 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm just simply going to glue this right on to that layer. And this is going to get put onto my basic black cardstock, which measures 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. But I actually want to emboss this first, and I'm going to emboss it with this scripty embossing folder. Okay, so I'm just going to put this right inside the folder. And I've got my plate, my folder, and because it's a 3D embossing folder, I'm just going to use the gray plate on top. And then I have my beautiful script embossed on that cardstock. And because I want that script to pop off the page, I mean, you can definitely see, maybe not on the camera, but in real life you can see the beautiful texture. But watch this. I'm just going to take my white craft pad, and just ever so lightly, I'm just going to brush across that cardstock. And see how those words just start to jump off the paper. So I'm going to do this all the way down. You could always do this with the first mark as well, very, very lightly, and emboss this in gold or silver or whatever you want. Just pulling in a little bit of white off the edges. Now I'm just going to glue this to the card front. Just center it like so, and then you have those pretty embossed words peeking out on each side. And of course this is going to flip up, so this is where you'll stamp your message, and now it's just a matter of decorating the front. I have a container where I keep bits and pieces left over from projects that I haven't used, and then I've got them for my cards, my scrapbook pages, just odds and sods, even, you know, just the circles, all kinds of different things. And so as I've been going through this, I pulled out a couple of butterflies. These were made with the Butterfly Gala stamp set and coordinating punch, and look at the colors are perfect for this card. So I'm going to put those on this card. And then here is a piece that I stamped and cut from the Forever Blossoms stamp set, and I think that looks really pretty on this one. So I have just pulled out the antennas from the Butterfly Gala stamp set because I want to stamp with that. I've gone ahead and I used the Love You More Than dies, and I cut out 4 of the words love and 4 of the words you, and I'm going to glue those all together. That's going to give this some dimension and thickness, and I'm going to do the same thing now with the word you. Now here is another piece that was in my scrap container. So this is just a piece of vellum that was cut with my stitch circle die, and I'm going to bring in the Ornate Thanks stamp set, and I'm going to stamp the, let's see, Ever So Much. Now I'm going to emboss this in white. Now I'm going to glue on my Love You. What I'm going to do so that I don't see the glue behind the vellum is I'm just going to add glue right behind these words. Now I'm going to run this piece of the butterfly bijou through the die cutting machine. Oh look, gold leafing. See, told you that gets everywhere. With my dies, so I'm going to cut those butterflies out. Okay, so here are my die cut butterflies. I don't want to use a big butterfly because it's going to hide a lot of that background. So I'm thinking of using either the pink or the yellow. So there are the 3 cards done with that beautiful faux grout technique using the gold leafing on these 2 and the gold embossing on this one. And it's just such a fun technique, so absolutely gorgeous. That gold leafing just is absolutely so bright and beautiful. The gold embossing is pretty too, but it's a darker gold. This is just stunning. And I thought while I had these cards out, I would show you the card I made at my mystery stamping hour yesterday, because it's exactly the same card fold. And I've just used the Designer Series paper and vellum with the wreath builder die, some sequins and pearls, and the butterfly. So even if you weren't planning on using the technique that I shared with you today, this is also a great card fold that you can use with your Designer Series paper and other embellishments. So I wanted to show that as well. So I hope you have a great time making these cards. I think you're really going to enjoy them. And if you need some more inspiration, here are a couple more videos that might inspire you. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great day and happy stamping.